Well, it's a required course, isn't it? Everybody's got to take it, and here you are. You got one at a time that was reasonable, and the professor's supposed to be, oh, okay, this is probably manageable. But a course in religious studies, or religion, or theology? Why on earth do you have to be here, and what do you do in order to survive? I know that when I look out on my class of students in a course called Exploring Religion and ask them to tell me why they're there, that they feel a certain sense of relief when I say, well, I know that some of you are taking this because you need a required course in religious studies. So they take a deep breath and say, yes. So I know that though I have a captive audience on occasion in these classrooms, I also have students who, however open-minded they might be, think this is really a bad idea. How am I going to ever survive this semester? Well, I'm not really ready to talk about survival. I'm talking about how to make the best of it. In a course in a college curriculum where religious studies is a requirement, there's a basic assumption that learning something about religion is going to help you to understand something about human beings, past, present, and future. Religion is a dimension of human life, a dimension of human experience. And I say that not to defend the curriculum, which I'm ready to do and certainly willing to do, but to point out that there can be something enormously useful about studying religion. And so my first approach is a pragmatic one. This can be good for you, and I'm not meaning that in some sort of fuzzy sense, but in the sense of enriching your understanding of humans and human behavior. So one of the things that you might do as a student is to think about what it is that religious studies has to do with those subjects that interest you most, or those professional career goals that are already beginning to form for you. Where's the intersection between religious studies and economics? Where's the intersection between studying religion and preparing to become a social worker? Where's the connection between practice as a speech pathologist and an introductory course in religion? I ask this question, or invite you to think about this a little bit, because I think it's worth making those connections. If you are persuaded by value in this sense of recognizing that there are some things you really want to learn about and want to study about and want to prepare to do, one of the tricks that you might use to make your way and make the best of this course is to begin to look for those connections. Not only general connections to human experience, but specific connections to that dimension of human experience that is important to you. The second bit of advice I offer is unpack your baggage so that you know what's in it. Now, what I mean is that we all carry stuff with us. We carry lots of stuff. We carry the things that we're excited about and which have formed us in a positive way. We carry the things that annoy us. We carry the observations of people whose behavior has been hypocritical and maybe antithetical to their religious affirmation or their religious identity. Some of this is very deeply personal stuff. We have seen how religion has worked, and maybe we have seen how it hasn't worked. We have some impressions that are not just neutral about religion. There's no accident that when you go to a party, you're not supposed to talk about, what is it, politics, sex, and religion? I'll leave you to figure out the first two, but the reason that there's such a caution about religion is people have so much invested. So what are you bringing to this discussion that is your starting point? Maybe your bias, maybe your prejudice, maybe your enthusiasm. And I say, I say unpack your baggage, because it's going to come with you, and you're ahead of the game if you know what it is, if you know what's in that luggage that you're carrying. You'll never leave it completely behind, but it might help to recognize that it's there. And a third bit of advice, begin to try to step, and this is such a cliche, but it's such a good one, to step into the other person's shoes. So wherever you have the opportunity to think about religion not as a system, but as a lived experience, go a step further and think there are people who are living this experience, whose religious practice or belief or worldview or perspective I'm encountering here. That's aided by the use of autobiography, by the use of story, by hearing about, recognizing, listening to individuals who are representative of that tradition. I use religious autobiographies in my course in world religions, and that helps my students, and it helps me to keep remembering that when we study religion, we're not studying about some dead thing in the books, but some experience being lived by people here and now, whose questions, whose loves, whose lives, whose yearnings are very much like our own. I think if you take my advice, you may be able to not only survive the semester, but you might find that it is more enjoyable than you ever expected to be. So, to repeat, look to the connections to your own experience, recognize what you bring with you, and lay it out in the open if you can, and then also maybe set it to the side so it's not the primary lens through which you look at the new material. And then finally, just remember that religion is a lived experience, and look to the stories of the people who live it in order to understand what it means and what it can mean in people's lives.